Hi, this is Michael Waits, and welcome back to India Game Changer. We are joined today by Avinash Rao, the founder of Alt DRX. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we get into the main part of this conversation, let's give our listeners a little bit of your background for some context.
Thank you, Michael, for having me on your show. It's a real pleasure to be on your show, and it's lovely to see what you're doing for India. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I come from a small town in India called Ballari. It's infamous for a few things, but famous for a lot more. Started my career somewhere in the year 2000 as a professional. Worked for organizations like Reliance and Tata in the telecom space. Spent about the first decade of my career in telecom. Did fairly well for myself. My last assignment being heading the enterprise space for Tata for a region, and then subsequently changed track, moved to real estate. Surprisingly, but yeah, most people from telecom don't move to real estate, but I did. And joined this international property consultant, very famous in Europe and other parts of the Western world, Knight Frank. I was heading their southern region, the southern part of India, and taking care of P&L there. Spent a couple of years, then decided that I would rather be on the manufacturer side rather than the facilitator side. So went and joined this publicly listed organization in India, that is Purvanta, publicly listed real estate developer. Spent 8 years there, did multiple roles, played wore multiple hats. The last assignment being heading their affordable housing division, Provident Housing and Purva Land. So this is a little bit about myself. And just around the time COVID happened, we were wondering what could be done, what we should do. And the entrepreneurial bug struck me. So me and my other founders said, okay, let's try and do something. So we said, there are multiple ways and means of reaching out to consumers in India. Why don't we democratize ownership and enable people to invest in real estate just the way they would invest, say, in a stock? So that is the big idea behind Alt. And now we've been at it for the last 3 years. That's a little bit about.
This brings up a lot of really interesting points. Can you talk to me about why you got, so two things really. One, why real estate? You've been in kind of a traditional corporate career for most of your life, it sounds like. And then you said, like, I've had enough of at least telecoms. Now I want to move into something completely different. Why?
Michael, I really would love to tell you that, okay, it was part of one big plan. There was no big plan, honestly. What happened was in the year 2010, 2011, there was this inflection point with telecom. A lot that could have been going wrong started going wrong with it. So you were not really enjoying what you were doing because there was all kinds of problems. There were extraneous problems. There were regulatory issues. There were organizational issues with the organization that I work with, various things. So I said, okay, it's time to move on. Then, being a professional, the moment you say I'm going to move on, and having played a leadership role in any organization, you get similar roles in other organizations. The difference being maybe the scale or the level that you enter. But I said, I really didn't want to do it. That's when this opportunity came by. They said, they like me, and they said, why don't you help us set up? Because ultimately the industry changed, but what I was doing, I continued to do it. I'm an operations person. I'm a customer facing person. So I had that know-how. So I just moved into real estate. Once I moved into real estate, I really like the fact that there is so much that you can do. And surprisingly, many people may not be aware of it. It gave us a lot of freedom because when I moved into real estate, it was still getting some kind of industry status. It had not really become as structured as it is today. Some people feel it's not as structured as it should be, but it's still way more structured than what it was. So when that happened, there was an opportunity to basically take all your learnings of the corporate world and implement it here. And very few of us get that kind of opportunity. So I really reveled in it. And I reveled in the fact that I got a lot of freedom to do new stuff. So it is a great, great experience. And I reveled in it so much that I continue to be associated with real estate, albeit this is my own firm. We are running something by ourselves. Fundamentally, it's really, really exciting space to be in.
So the next thing I have to ask you is, again, after a long corporate career, how do you then just make the jump into entrepreneurship? Right, because it's a completely different life. You mentioned the word freedom. There's way more freedom at some level when you're an entrepreneur, but also a lot more pressure and stress, I guess I would say. No?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the most. It can be, for want of any other word, it can be quite a harrowing experience, because for 20 years of your career, you're used to a monthly salary, you're used to
Yeah.
perks. And as you go, I mean, for the better half of my career, I was always sitting in a cabin. I had executive assistant. I had all this paraphernalia that you have as a good corporate executive who's grown up the ropes. All that was gone, from figuring out how to pay your rent, from figuring out how to pay the electricity bill, from ensuring that you had a proper office, and then you had to open your own office. So everything you have to unlearn, and you have to forget about your past. The most important thing is to forget about your past. You can live without the salary, you can live without some of the perks that you have, but you have to really undo your past, because uh, many of us fall in the trap, and I would have been guilty of it too, because my position was such that I could get a lot of things done, but it was not me who was being able to get it done. It was my position and the organization that I work for. When you start on
Yeah.
your own, all that vanishes.
It
And
does.
you may assume that the people who you know very well will come to your support. I mean, then there'll be a lot of goodwill for sure, because you've done well in your past and you can't run away from your past. But you will be surprised that a number of strangers come and help you. A number of strangers come and say, okay, we like what you're doing, let's back you. So that also happens. But the first 2-3 years can be very tough. And one should be able to slug it out, be able to take a number of no's, and be aware that it's like starting all over again, right? It's like starting 20 years back and doing everything again. But only advantage being, you know what is on the other side of the mountain right now, because you've already done it. So that way, there is that advantage. It's quite an experience.
It sure is. I've been there as well. Talk to me about DRX.
Okay.
Talk to me about like the founding principles, what it's actually trying to accomplish. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this idea of just trying to give everybody access to real estate, because I think it brings up some really good things and some really challenging things as well. But let's talk about why this works.
Real estate across the world, is precious. The last dollar that anybody puts in goes into real estate. But real estate has got certain nuances, certain characteristics, which inevitably are challenges. Number one, it is easier to buy, very difficult to sell, and hence highly illiquid. So it's not like going and selling your stock, and even for a loss, you can get your money back. Doesn't happen in real estate. It takes time. It's cumbersome. The paperwork is cumbersome. The due diligence is cumbersome. There are legal hassles. You don't really get. There's a lot of opacity of information. You don't get the right kind of information at the right time. So you can be making a decision without the right kind of information. And finally, it's hyper-local, meaning I would like to see, touch, feel my real estate. So I will buy it within a 5, 10, 20-kilometer radius of where I live or where I work. So these are some of the characteristics of real estate. Now, we wanted to bring about a change wherein we are able to enable people to invest in high quality, grade A real estate across the big 7-8 cities of India from anywhere in the country. And now, why will they do it? How will they do it? These are big question marks. So how they would do it was easy. If they come onto a digital platform, they can do it. So we first said, okay, whatever we do will not require a wet signature. That was the first step. So we said, anybody can come onto my platform and start investing in the Bangalore real estate opportunity, in the Pune real estate.
How do you KYC them, right? So if it doesn't require a wet signature or just a signature, right? It's all digital.
Yeah. So
how do you identify who those people are and just vet the fact that that they're actually okay?
Yeah. So because you're familiar with the Indian system, so I'm just going to use some terms. If there are any questions, please ask me. So anybody who comes onto my platform with a registered mobile number can register their mobile number, get an OTP, so that makes them a registered user. Then for them to become a user who's basically been verified, they do a PAN, that is a permanent account number for their income tax, and they do an Aadhaar verification, all done online. So both verifications are done online. Then they open wallet. Now that wallet is also linked to a bank account, and that bank account is also verified. So fundamentally, it is 100% verification done before the person can transact on our platform. So we know who he is or who she is, from where they're coming from, and it's perfectly kosher in that sense. We don't even store the Aadhaar card. We don't store the PAN. It's all verified through the Aadhaar portal, to the PAN portal. So fundamentally, it's all OTP based. So it may be a little cumbersome for some people because sometimes the OTP may not come. Sometimes it may take a little longer, but we've stuck to it and we've got all our users who are verified through this process. Hence, making sure that this person is, allowed to transact in this nature, and we know we know exactly who he is or what she is.
Yeah. These are some really unique aspects of the Indian economy, right?
Yeah.
We could also talk about UPI for payments as well, but this, I forget how you pronounce it, but this Aadhaar and the PAN portals, these are really, really important aspects of it, which actually facilitate the building of platforms like Alt DRX. Yeah. I mean, otherwise it would be hard to do this, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, imagine taking the photograph of your PAN card, photograph of your Aadhaar card, uploading it, scanning it, uploading it, and then restoring it, all those things.
Right.
But the India Stack is a great success story. It's enabling a host of things that are happening in India today. So from a fintech space, I think India would be at the forefront of the kind of innovation that has taken place here. Certainly enabled by what the government initiatives have been. There's a lot of issues with identity protection, a lot of concerns arising out of that. But we don't even store that data anymore. We just store your number, and that also is verified through the Aadhaar. Once that is done, then you're good to go.
Awesome. And how do you handle the sort of digital accessibility of the real estate? In other words, there was a lot of talk 3 or 4 years ago about tokenizing everything, which then would allow you to break it down into little pieces and allow access for anybody to buy it in smaller pieces than they could for regular real estate. The one issue with that was that the walleting aspect became a little bit convoluted or confusing for most normal people. Again, so it wasn't 100% democratized, but tell me what you're doing here.
So we do exactly what you just said. We basically tokenize real estate to enable people to invest 1 square foot at a time. So anybody can come onto my platform. Now they will see multiple opportunities. So there will be a Bangalore prime land investment. The Bangalore prime land investment opportunity will tell you that we've got so many different plotted lands into this opportunity. And the price of this token is 10,000 rupees. So you're basically invested in the land opportunity in a city like Bangalore, but you need not have bought the entire land parcel. You're buying a portion of that land parcel. In fact, you're buying a portion of multiple land parcels. Hence, you now diversify your risk in the sense one land parcel may move up, one land parcel's price may come down, but it's like it's a basket of land parcels which are held by this one SPV, that's a special purpose vehicle, and you've now invested into that SPV, and by virtue of that, you own 1 square foot / 1 token. You're participating in the Bangalore's economy in that sense. Whatever is happening with Bangalore real estate, you're benefiting from it. So, and it's diversified because it's not invested in one plot or one building. Then it becomes that much more lucrative because the risk reduces. Yeah.
So this brings up a few other questions for me too. What if I want to buy in a particular building?
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, do you set up the SPV in the sense that, and do you know you're going to have enough, what's the right word, demand for the SPV before you set that up? So you go out and then you buy access to this. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
Who regulates that? How do we know that you actually own it and that I'm actually buying a piece of that as opposed to just buying a piece of nothing? Do you know what I mean? Like, how is all that fixed?
Firstly, I really like the question, and I really like the fact that you understand this so well. So yeah. So we
You're not surprised, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm just happy. I'm just happy. You understand it so well, and see, it can be confusing at times, and hence I'm just appreciative of the fact that you get it.
I'm just playing with you. Go ahead. It's all cool.
Yeah. So what we first do is we set up the SPV. Right? We are the property manager and the asset manager. We set up the SPV. The SPV is in the form of a limited liability partnership. People come in as partners, into the SPV. So they bring in the big check. The big check comes in. The property gets bought by the SPV. It gets registered. Then it gets tokenized. So fundamentally, the SPV holds the asset. We don't hold the asset. The SPV holds the asset. The SPV is got independent partners who come in and put money for the purchase of buying a particular asset. As and when we keep adding assets into the SPV, all the members and the people, token holders who are holding the SPV vote and then approve the purchase of the next asset. That is how the new asset keeps getting added. But primarily what happens is the SPV source is crowdfunded. The asset is bought. It is registered in the SPV's name. All the documentation, that is, the SPV holds the documentation of the asset. It holds the due diligence that is done by a very good legal firm. It holds the micro market study done by, say, an IBC like Knight Frank. It holds the valuer's report. All this information is available. And if somebody wants to go and visit that particular property, access is provided for go and visit off. So all that is done is that the property is bought, the registered document is uploaded, they can see at which price the property was bought, the nature of the property, all that is associated with the property is made available on the platform. It's a downloadable report for a customer.
So this brings up a really interesting question for me as well. I mean, a bunch of stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's just say I'm an experienced real estate investor. And instead of me going out and hiring my own legal firm and doing all this due diligence and doing all this stuff, I noticed that you set up an SPV and it's diversified in, let's say, Bangalore, as you said, or Delhi or Mumbai. And I like that. But let's say it's a $10 million opportunity and I have $8 million to invest in Bangalore and I don't want to waste my time because it creates friction for me. Is there a limit to how much of any SPV one entity can buy?
So these are all self-imposed at this time. It's something like we don't want to be so we want to limit the exposure to approximately at this point in time to for every SPV to be about 5 to 6 million. So 5 to 6 million US dollars, which is effectively less than 50 crores, Let's take it like that. 50 crores is little more than $6 million. So we want to keep it below $6 million. Now, if there is an investor who feels that he wants to buy, answering your question, he wants to put money in the SPV, it's possible. It's certainly possible. But then he becomes a partner in the SPV. Doesn't necessarily, He owns a giant share of the SPV. Say he owns 80% of the SPV, does not own 100% of the asset, which he might have owned otherwise, but he owns 80% of the SPV, which holds this asset. Now he has the choice that he can keep holding it, or he can offer it in the form of tokens for it to get sold in the retail space. So he comes in like an institutional investor, benefits from the rental returns, and looks at capital appreciation at a later date whenever he or she is comfortable.
Got it. And is that more efficient than doing it on your own? You know what I mean? Than hiring your own legal firm and all that other stuff. So you're creating a bunch of different markets here, yeah?
Yeah, right. It's very efficient. I mean, so we're constantly opening up new opportunities. We are constantly sourcing funds for new opportunities. So if there is an investor and if there is a prop book kind of funding that is happening, it certainly becomes very easy. It certainly becomes more accessible. And it certainly gives us, it hastens us in the sense we can now open up multiple opportunities. We have 7 opportunities on the platform. If something like this were to happen, we would have 25 opportunities on the platform.
Yeah. So is there a little bit of a conundrum then, right? Because the idea for tokenization is to say, I want to give somebody who only has $15 or $100 or, $1,000 to be able to invest in this. But if at the end of the day, we're creating an opportunity where, do you know what I mean? Is there a little bit of a conundrum here where somebody who's really wealthy just says, you know what, this is way more frictionless for me to invest in real estate. I'm going to take this whole thing, wait for a little bit of capital appreciation, and then I can piece it out because it's tokenized to people that couldn't invest at the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Is it going to squeeze people out as well?
Not really. I mean, India is a very large country. It's got so you got both sides of the coin. You got both kinds of people. The first kind of people are people who are looking for a great deal, right? So they will get a great deal. The second kind of people are who are looking for access, not necessarily a great deal, but a lower entry barrier will enable them to invest faster and help them to, maybe like I have a dream to invest in Bombay. I can't invest in Bombay. It's too expensive. But if I'm allowed to invest by paying 50,000 rupees, I'm allowed to invest in Bandra. Why would not I? Why would not I? I may even invest 5 lakh rupees, 500,000 rupees and invest in Bandra. So there are different needs for people, but we cater to in many ways, we cater to middle India, which is typically your uh, sub 10 million, sub 10 million segment, right? So these people want to be able to invest in multiple geographies, be able to invest faster, be able to exit when they like to exit. So all these are things that we are enabling. So I don't think it's so much of a conundrum. It's certainly a facilitator, because somebody who comes in and invests, say, 8 million, and he wants to let go of 1 million, for example, we'll facilitate that. He is not in a hurry. He's okay to get a slight better appreciation. He's okay to earn the rental returns that he's getting. But there are others who will be happy to lap up that 1 million, which is being broken up into, say, 100 pieces, and then they are investing it. So those are the things that they.
Interesting. Can I ask you this? If financial inclusion, right, or the democracy of the ability to invest in real estate is one of the goals, and it sounds like it is, right? If that's driven by financial literacy, just the fact that people understand what's happening in the market, how do you drive that part of it?
Yeah, so true. It's very, very important, because ultimately, you need one bad apple to say, I'm going to give you 25% return and not return more principal back.
Yeah.
So these are things that are always a problem in our country. I mean, many countries, it gets acute in our country because, like you rightly mentioned, financial literacy might be low. So we constantly keep harping on the fact that, look, real estate is not as liquid as other asset classes. Real estate will grow, but it will grow slowly over a period of time. It is not, you're not going to see, unprecedented growth in real estate. You're going to see reasonable growth, good growth. So you should invest wisely. So we do a lot of work on that front. We keep people informed. We talk to them about the risks attached to an investment. We do keep them abreast with the latest information about the micro market, the market that they're investing in, so that they're made aware of. So fundamentally, two aspects of literacy. One is from a product standpoint, as to what the product is offering and what you should be able to expect, so that they do not have it's okay to slightly exaggerate the truth, but ultimately people should know what can happen if something goes wrong. So inform them. And second is the larger aspect of how investing is good for you, how you can invest for the future, what are the goals that you can achieve through regular investing, all those things also. So both aspects are done by us in a manner wherein it's there on our platform, it's there on our social media channels. So it's not something that we shy away from doing at all.
So middle India, like how you say it, kind of like casually, it could be 500 to 600 million people. Well, it could be more.
Let's put it in perspective. Let's say in India, in the primary market, 300,000 homes are sold every year in 7 cities. 300,000 homes. Now,
just in those 7 cities, though, yeah.
7 cities. And this is primary. That is developer to end user, developer to investor. It's not the secondary market. The secondary market will be maybe as large, where secondary homes are sold. Now, in this primary market of 300,000, even today, sub 10 million, when I say $10 million, sub $10 million is 70% of the market. So we are talking about 200,000 to 220,000 people who buy sub 10 million products.
Got it.
It's not sub 10 million. It is sub 10 million rupees, sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Sub 10 million rupees, not dollars.
Right. Okay. So, okay, but it's still not small, and it's just going to keep getting bigger. And as people get more access to it, the only reason why I brought up the size of the market, right, in those 7 cities is because at some point, if you create this financial inclusion, right, this ability for this democratization for more and more people to buy, particularly in the primary market, and if you create more financial literacy, at some point your company becomes more than just a place for transactions, but also a place for knowledge. That was kind of the point that I was trying to make for the whole country. Because sure, the 7 cities themselves are big, but as India becomes wealthier, and it's becoming wealthier quicker than it has ever before in the past, it just means that the second tier and third tier cities as well are going to need the same types of products that you're now developing for these top 7 cities. And once that happens and people get educated, it also means that the developers are going to be able to then put new product, meaning new buildings, in those places as well. Is there a plan for that type of expansion, if that makes sense?
Yeah. If I answer your last question first, we get customers from, right now, got customers from almost 40 cities in the country on our platform.
That's a lot.
So 40 cities. We want to get customers from 500 cities in the country. So that's the idea. So that's possible. It's not like it's as possible as it is probable. It just looks very large, but it is possible. Second part of your question, where you are saying that a lot of development can happen in tier 2, tier 3 cities. Again, I would love to say yes and say yes, it's all very easy, but growth is usually driven by how the progress in commercial real estate, meaning the development of industry. It could be software, it could be general IT, it could be ITES services, it could be anything. The more commercial real estate gets developed, it could be industrial complexes with greater likelihood of residential real estate being developed in that market or in that market.
For sure.
So I would say that urbanization is certainly taking place in India in a big way. And there will be a greater amount of development that will take place in the smaller cities. But I think we are at least 2 decades away from that, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's just my lack of knowledge. That's actually one of the reasons why I do this show, right? And the reason is because there are things I think I know about India, and there are things that I definitely know. And that was one of the things I thought I knew, but I was wrong. Wow. But what it means, though, is then that there's a long roadmap for you to be able to grow, yeah?
Oh, yes. Okay. So the opportunity size is so huge. We are 7% of the GDP today. It will be 15% of the GDP in at least 10% of the GDP in 2030 when we are a $5 trillion economy. So the scope and the opportunity size of real estate is humongous. There's a huge opportunity there. And whenever we talk about real estate, even residential real estate, which we focus on in India, we're still talking about 7, 8 cities, right? We're not talking about even 20 cities in the country. Country is very vast.
Yeah, it's super huge. What is discovery like? Right, let's say I'm somebody, I have a mobile phone, I have a bank account, obviously I have a national ID, and I understand the PAN platform. How do I find out that Alt DRX exists? I mean, I know that there's Facebook marketing and all sorts of stuff, but I'm just talking about, do you know what I mean? How do I discover? Then how do I discover what properties are available? And like you said, even though you have people investing from 40 cities into the top 7 cities, a lot of people are still going to be biased towards like the city closest to them, right? Even if they're in a different city, they're going to be biased towards a city close. How do I discover like what's possible and what the possible returns are and what the math is around it? Like, how does all that stuff work?
The reach is always going to be a challenge for a startup like us. Unless we raise really large capital, reach will always remain not a bottleneck, but it will remain a challenge. We keep finding innovative ways of reaching out to people. One is obviously the digital platforms. 2 is today, there are a number of influencers through whom we can reach out. And then there are, various people who are influencing decision-making in various cities. They could be industrialists, they could be chartered accountants, they could be various kinds of people. We reach out through them and try and reach out city by city. But what you are absolutely right about is, whether I'm doing physical real estate or digital real estate, the likelihood that somebody from that city will buy a property in that city is very, very high. So we have to reach out to more cities. And when we reach out to more cities, we reach out to more customers. That is a given. But at this point in time, both of these aspects are dependent on the kind of resourcing that I have. We've opened 7 opportunities. We should be opening another 5 to 6 opportunities in the next 3 to 6 months. And then hopefully we should be able to reach out to a much larger audience through the various steps that we are taking. But it will always, to answer your question, it is not as easy as one may imagine, because there is a very different set of vernacular audience which is very keen on such investments. But maybe we are not reaching out to them today because of various reasons. But we are not able to reach out to people who may be very willing to put that 10,000 rupees in Bangalore. But because they don't know about us, we have not been able to get that 10,000. So that's. I hope I answered your question. That's how it works.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. I have some ideas. We can talk about them offline.
Sure.
Can foreigners use your platform?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, because it's meant only for Indians at this point in time. But we are already part of the GIFT City, that is the IFSCA platform in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. So through that platform, through that mechanism, we will have foreigners also enabled to use our platform. So it's a matter of time. It's a work in progress. We are in the sandbox. Hopefully, in the next 6 to 9 months, we should get clarity and we should start enabling foreigners to invest our platform there.
It still sounds like a massive opportunity to me. One more thing before I let you go. Talk to me about the future, not just the future of your company, but the future of real estate in India. Where do you see things going in the next, let's say, 5 to 12 years?
Massive. Like I said, 15% of the Indian GDP. It's a $1 trillion opportunity today. Indian real estate. The residential real estate in India is set to grow. My sense would be that it's set to grow at least at 12 to 15% year on year for the next 5 years. Simply because the market size is so large, the number of cities that it can grow to is immense. Like 7 cities is nothing. There will be at least 100 cities in India which can
for sure
consume 10,000 plus homes every year. So that is the kind of opportunity that exists in the Indian real estate market. And there is a big opportunity from a technology play point. Today, when you look at PropTech as a facilitator for the Indian real estate market, it is primarily based on search. People are using it for search, people are using it for listing. But the space is so large, there is so much more that can be done. You could use it for sustenance, you could use it for efficiency in construction, you could use it for reach. So much more can be done. So there is a great opportunity for AI. There's a great opportunity for technology play within the real estate industry. And most importantly, from a democratization of ownership point of view, the opportunity is humongous. Just like how you can buy a stock of Reliance, you should be able to buy 1 square foot in Indore, 1 square foot in any part of India, and take advantage of the growth of that city. People are buying land in Ayodhya, but people are not going to go and live there. People are buying it because they believe it's going to appreciate at some point in time. But why buy the entire piece of land when you can buy a tokenized piece of real estate?
The idea of technology driving some of this is so fascinating to me. And we talked earlier about, if the platform continues to grow and it becomes kind of like the de facto place where people go to make both small but also larger investments in real estate as more and more people in the country learn about it. Do you see yourselves building like the map of real estate in Asia? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So that I can literally bring up a map of, in India, excuse me. So I can literally bring up a map of India and I can look and see this area is like blue, which means it hasn't had a lot of investment, but the areas around it are like red, which means that they've already exploded. Do you know what I mean? And have like a heat map almost of like what the whole country looks like.
Yes, absolutely. I like the thought of Asia also, but let's look at India. Let's look at India. There are unexplored parts of India. Like if you go to the Northeast, you're not going to see a lot of development that is taking place, but they're exotic locations. They're precious. So Airbnbs can be, Airbnb I use loosely, but fundamentally, people who have holiday homes, they can be tokenized and they can be made asset-light. So the opportunity to, and India is already a great service economy, but getting asset-light models where your real estate gets used as a holiday home, real estate gets used as a student housing, real estate gets used for co-living, senior living, which is a massive opportunity. All that opens up. And geographically, all Indian cities are growing, right? All Indian cities are becoming larger and smaller cities are becoming a part of these bigger cities. Right? Bangalore urban and Bangalore rural are one today. Similarly, more cities, the same thing is going to happen. So a heat map is a great opportunity. I think we are already doing it. I mean, when we do a small sample saying that, okay, the north part of Bangalore, because of the presence of the airport, because of the social infrastructure, this is the pricing, this is the growth metrics. But you know what? There is this other part of Bangalore where it's unexplored, but in the next 10 years, it's likely to become way bigger. So all those things we've started doing. We are very keen on Asia. We are a part of, we are doing something in Qatar where we are a part of their sandbox from a tokenization standpoint, primarily for revenue-backed assets. And like I told you, Gandhinagar, we are very keen on the entire Asia story. The Indian story is so big that it takes up all our time. Right?
It's hard to ignore when the place where you live is so large and so dynamic.
Correct.
And even though you can look outside to the rest of the world and think like that's also an opportunity, it's like let's make sure we take care of this opportunity first before somebody else does it. But yeah, the rest of Asia, and to be fair, the rest of the world is a huge thing. Avinash Rao, the founder of Alt DRX, let's do this. Let's have you back in about 6 months to a year to find out how you've progressed, what other cities you've entered, what other properties are out there, and let's try to keep the success going. I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, pleasure's all mine, Michael. Thank you so much for having me over, and I would love to come back to Avinash. Thank you so much.